So first question, what were you doing on September 11, 2001 when you first heard the news that the first tower crashed into the World Trade Center?
I will never forget it. I was actually, my husband and I were missionaries at the time in Bucharest, Romania, in Eastern Europe. And we were actually out in the street, and we were working in a leadership training institute. And some of the students there actually called us and said, "You better get back to your apartment. Your nation is under attack." And, not believing that could possibly be true, another person had called and said, "You better get back to your apartment. Your nation is being attacked." And when I walked in and it turned on, like the only Western TV channel at the time that was on, we, like everybody else, sat by our TVs for 2 and 3 days trying to come to grips with and understand how our nation could be attacked by terrorism.
And then how did that make you feel knowing that you were you were completely across the world with no way to even help as you're doing missionary work, helping other people?
Well, I can tell you, so, being an American and living abroad, it definitely, it was scary. Number one, it was scary because nobody really knew what was going to happen at that time. The White House didn't even know what actually was happening. So, so our country, the United States, closed down, shut down all data communication centers so you couldn't get through to anybody by phone, shut down planes and those kinds of things. So we were stranded in a country with very little money that we had left, watching the reality of what was happening on those TVs. And you know what? I just felt a resolve inside of me that said, I want to do my part in making sure this never happens again. And it changed my worldview forever about the importance and preeminence of national security for the United States.
And how long did you plan on staying in Eastern Europe until you were actually able to come back home?
So we had been planning on leaving to come home in that time period. So it probably shut us out for about a week. But when I flew home and landed in the Detroit airport, I was ready to kiss the ground, the asphalt of American soil. There's no nation like this country. And to know that you literally cannot get back to your country, you start thinking about things like, will I ever get back to my country? Will I ever see my family? Will I ever celebrate birthdays again? Yeah, and that's why I made the decision that if I'm going to have the opportunity someday ever to run for public office, I'm running, and I'm running to make sure we protect our nation. And when you're dealing with the finest that the world has ever seen in enlisted military, in all of our services, and all of the families of enlisted now today veterans that have kept our nation safe for 20 years, terrorists off our soil, fights in other places, keeping us free, generations of people that are understanding freedom of the finest military the world's ever seen, and they still are. And as we celebrate this 20th anniversary, my heart goes back, and it does go back to that moment, in Romania, but it also goes to the years since then when we've looked at those towers and we've laid so many men and women to rest, and the blood that was shed for this country. Freedom isn't free. And I'm just reminded today that here we are again, freedom isn't free. And our military is still paying the highest price for freedom. I could not be more grateful than I am today on looking back at what's happened and where we are today, understanding the national security in this country should be the top priority. And we've got the finest military that we've ever had supporting it and keeping us free.